You can get the next episode of Sworn right now on the TuneIn app. On TuneIn, new episodes of Sworn are available 1 week early. Download TuneIn today and listen for free.
You place your left hand on the Bible and raise your right hand and repeat after me. I do solemnly swear.
We, the jury, find the defendant not guilty.
Protests continued this weekend in Ferguson and around the country.
Quit resisting.
It makes no sense. If it doesn't fit, you must acquit.
Judge, you are the last line of reason in this case.
Every one of us took an oath of office, and we're sworn to uphold the Constitution.
From Tenderfoot TV in Atlanta, this is Sworn. I'm your host, Philip Holloway. We got about a half-full parking lot right now. What was it like on the night she disappeared?
Very few cars. From the video that we acquired, you don't get to capture much of the parking lot, but descriptions was that it was a quiet night at Walmart. Pretty much northwest, and you can see the backside of the Chick-fil-A. That's the last general vicinity that she was seen running from the Walmart.
Hi, I'm your host, Philip Holloway, and today we're looking into a very different kind of missing persons case. As you may recall, at the end of the Weidman murders, I posed the question that, unlike in the Weidman murders, what would a cold case investigation look like if investigators really put their shoulders into solving it? On September 13th, 2013, Tiffany Whitton was caught shoplifting at a Walmart in Cobb County, Georgia. When she was stopped by the loss prevention officers, she ran away from the Walmart, never to be seen again. Or was she? We've just passed the 4-year mark, and still there's no sign of Tiffany. We're going to be exploring what makes this case so hard to pin down, namely the lack of physical evidence, the lack of witnesses, the lack of cooperation, the delay in reporting, and the high possibility of foul play. This is Sworn. So let's walk while we talk, and let's take a look at, I want to see for myself what these doors look like that she came out of. That's a fairly typical Walmart sort of entrance and exit, but it is a large door.
Right.
And are there surveillance video cameras right there at that door?
Mounted from inside, yes, there were cameras. And the doors are those automatic, they're motion sensors, and you come up to it and they open.
So how far out of the door did she get before she was apprehended by the store security?
She wasn't out the door yet. She was at the door and had not made her way out that set of doors at the time that she was approached by security. And they kind of got between her and the parking lot.
This is John Dawes, the lead investigator of the Cold Case Unit in Cobb County, Georgia, and now the lead investigator in the Tiffany Whitton case. Mason and I decided to go down with John to the Walmart where Tiffany was last seen in order to get a better feel for the area.
Is that correct? Yeah, what was described by Walmart is that she was going pretty much northwest, and you can see the backside of the Chick-fil-A. That's the last general vicinity that she was seen running from the Walmart, headed toward the backside of Chick-fil-A. And where she went then, you can see there's tree growth now, so you could lose sight of her pretty quickly.
Is that IHOP that we're looking at up there on the top of the hill, is that where she worked?
She used to work at that IHOP. It's actually on the other side of Cobb Parkway from here, but yes, that's the IHOP.
For the people who are listening to this, John, can you describe what Cobb Parkway is and how big it is?
Cobb Parkway is 2 lanes south and 2 lanes north with a center turn lane between. So it's a wide state route that comes through Marietta and normally there's a good bit of traffic on Cobb Parkway. Part of the case that would have been really, really good to have is all the video from all these neighboring businesses. I'll assure you that most of them, if not all of them, have their own systems. You're talking about probably 20 businesses that we could have gotten footage from, including Chick-fil-A. But the problem that we had is the delay in reporting. This happened in mid-September and it wasn't reported until January. So that time frame pretty much absolves the opportunity to get video from these commercial businesses.
John Dawes brings up one of the biggest obstacles in this case. Several months went by before Tiffany was actually reported missing by her mother. And this created lots of different problems for law enforcement in terms of creating an accurate timeline and in obtaining surveillance footage from businesses before it's erased. So you may be wondering, if a young girl ran out towards Cobb Parkway, a major thoroughfare in a suburb just north of Atlanta, and was never seen again, why did it take so long to report her as missing? I'd like to take a minute to tell you about Industrious. Industrious offers stunning shared and co-working office space for companies of all sizes, from small businesses to the Fortune 500. As the host of Sworn and contributor to Up and Vanished, I've had a chance to work at the Tenderfoot TV headquarters located right here in Atlanta at Industrious at Ponce City Market. I know firsthand how great this office space is, with daily breakfast, coffee and snacks, high-speed internet, printing, and conference room space, all included in your rent, and you can pay month to month, and there's no long-term commitment. Industrious has locations in just about every major city across the country and is opening up 2 additional locations in Atlanta, West Midtown and Buckhead. Now with 4 locations, Industrious is Atlanta's largest community of co-working and shared office space. Other new locations include Chicago, D.C., Minneapolis, New York City, Boston, and more. Right now, Industrious is offering listeners of Sworn $250 off your first month's office rent. Just visit www.industriousoffice.com/sworn. That's industriousoffice.com/sworn for $250 off your first month's rent.
I'm Lisa Daniels. My daughter is Tiffany Whitton, who disappeared in Marietta from the Walmart on Cobb Parkway on September 13th of 2013. So we just passed the 4-year mark since anyone last saw Tiffany.
How old was your daughter at the time of her disappearance?
She was 26.
Where did she live?
Well, she lived in Marietta at the time, or Powder Springs. I think it might have been Powder Springs area. It's kind of hard to say. She was a little nomadic. She was a drug addict, so she moved around, stayed where she could. I think was kind of the way most of these people live, is wherever they can find a place. She would say to me that she wanted to get clean, that she wanted to do better, she wanted to be a better person, but she also stated to me that the only time she felt normal is when she was high. And that was sad to me because it made me feel like there was probably some underlying mental illness there that we weren't aware of. But we, as a family, did everything we could to try to help her get clean, rehab and just everything that we could possibly think of. And nothing seemed to work. She'd get clean for a little while, and then as soon as she would run into somebody that had a supply, she'd be right back into it.
What was her drug of choice?
Meth and heroin. I think she started out like a lot of people do with the opioids. It was Oxy. And then I don't know who introduced her to meth, but at some point she was introduced to heroin. And that became probably her primary.
So what happened that caused the delay in reporting her disappearance?
Well, like I said, she was nomadic, and she did not always stay in touch with us. So when she was using, we wouldn't hear from her. It could be weeks, it could be a couple months. So initially, was I worried? Yeah, I worried about her every day, but I wasn't worried that she was missing or that something had happened to her. I was used to not hearing from her for a couple months. But when the holidays came around and I didn't hear from her at all, that was not normal. And so after the holidays, we did go down and file a missing persons report.
To Lisa, this wasn't abnormal behavior. Admittedly, She'd gone as long as 2 months without hearing from Tiffany before. But after that time had gone by, and the holidays came and went, Lisa felt this had escalated past typical drug user behavior. Tiffany was last seen in September. Lisa reported her missing in January.
It's bizarre. It's bizarre. Pretty much my entire high school has either, graduating class has either died of a heroin overdose or is in some sort of treatment or recovery or legal consequences. But no one's ever just disappeared.
This is Erin Warren, a close friend of Tiffany's.
A few of us have gone missing from time to time because we're out there in active addiction. I did myself, but you eventually resurface.
She's known Tiffany for a long time and could offer perspective on the drug addiction that apparently ran Tiffany's life. Erin can talk about Tiffany's addiction because she can relate. But when the time came and Erin got clean, Tiffany didn't, and that caused them to drift apart.
So I've known Tiffany actually since middle school, and we've been, friends on and off throughout middle school. And why I say on and off is, I'm in recovery myself, so, addiction takes you different places, and you don't always hang around the same group of people. But anytime we were hanging out throughout middle school and high school, we were definitely partying together, which always involved alcohol and drugs. And then I got sober in 2011, and not too long after that, I reconnected with Tiffany. She had gotten out of prison and, was sober for a period of time. And so we attended meetings together, and we're once again a part of one another's lives, but in a more healthier place for each of us. So when she relapsed, I'm still sober today, so I tried to, see her at meetings, meet her at meetings, and tried to talk to her, but she was so strung out on meth again, you just couldn't get through to her. I don't remember if she, maybe she went through our side in prison, but I don't recall her going to rehab. And when she got out, at that point, I don't know why she couldn't go back home, if she'd lost custody of her daughter, but she was actually living with a mutual friend for a period of time before she relapsed. Mutual friend that we also went to school with, and then he was a member of, recovery also at the time. I don't think it was that long before her disappearance. I'm not sure. I saw her at a AA meeting, and that was literally my last contact with her. She was so strung out, high at that time, very emaciated and thin, and just telling me some crazy story. I just asked her, do you want help? Are you ready to, come off of the stuff again? Because, I'll help you do that, but I can't, enable you. Because she was needing somewhere to stay. That was kind of the crisis at the moment. Not that she was back on drugs, but turns out she'd, stolen stuff from her roommate, who was also her coworker, and that's why her roommate kicked her out. That's the same coworker she worked with at IHOP that's actually been interviewed several times for her story, the police report and all that. She got fired from IHOP for stealing from there, too. So you can just kind of see her pattern with this.
We also asked Erin about Ashley Cottle, Tiffany's boyfriend at the time, and the last person she was with on the night that she disappeared. On the surveillance tape footage from Walmart, they walk around the store together.
He, pulled up that night outside of the meeting when I was trying to talk to her and ask her if she wanted help. And he picked her up. I heard from people that ran with them that he had a very bad temper. Sketch, absolute sketch. They're both strung out on meth, and, anytime anybody's on meth, they're sketchy. They're flighty, shifty. You get this feeling, I'm trying to describe it, when someone's on meth and they're in the same room as you, yeah, it's like being around someone who's possessed. You instantly feel, I've got to get away from this person. It's scary. It's unsettling on the inside. If you are locked up in Cobb County Jail, there are always a group of tweakers that are locked up in there, and they know all of the gossip, you know what I mean, and latest news that goes on in the meth underworld. So the fact that nobody's come forward with information, I mean, I feel like she has to be dead. I was arrested many times when I was in active addiction, but I would be in there with a bunch of we call them tweakers, One time in particular, they were talking about, oh, she knows something about the body that was dumped somewhere. Now, this is unrelated to Tiffany, but you hear the gossip in jail. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Because I've heard it myself as an inmate. I mean, somebody knows something. It's like, okay, was she picked up and sex trafficked? I feel like that and being killed are the two most likely outcomes. Okay, the IHOP waitress, the one in Marietta.
Yeah.
That Tiffany worked at, got fired from for stealing. I spoke with her, face to face. I can't tell you where or when. I mean, it was that closer to the time she disappeared. And I mean, she told me straight up, Ashley came there after her disappearance looking visibly shaken, you know what I mean? Distraught, shifty, what you would expect for someone that's high on meth, but she said more so, and was acting really weird. So, I mean, just her, and then, it was reported that she said, well, why don't you call Tiffany? And he pulled out her cell phone and said, because I have it. So then if a message was sent a month later to her brother or whoever for happy birthday, okay, why the fuck isn't that being investigated? Have they looked at her phone records? You know what I mean? Why isn't this stuff being tracked?
The birthday message that Aaron is referring to is a message that was sent from Tiffany's Facebook to her half-brother, Blake, around January 5th, 2014. According to an interview Blake did in 2016, Tiffany also called him around his birthday that year, using her special nickname for him, Mudbug. Keep in mind, this was just about 4 months since she was last seen. More on this later.
When you have two drug addicts in a relationship, the codependence is so strong that you're not going to separate no matter what. So for the fact that Ashley claims she just disappeared into the night, I don't fucking believe. Toxic codependent relationships are just as strong as drugs and alcohol. The effect is the same for someone. You know what I mean? So if you're in that type of relationship and you have to have that person to be okay, you're not going to let them wander off into the night. There's just not, because humans individually, can be unpredictable to an extent. But when you add drugs into the mix, there's no way to predict outcomes.
Do you search the internet for promo codes before you check out? Have you ever bought something and a couple of days later it's 50% off? I'd like to introduce you to Honey, the service that helps you save money. Honey was started by two friends who were frustrated by a lack of price transparency when they were shopping online, so they decided to help people find the best possible prices online. The free desktop browser extension is available on Chrome, Firefox, and Safari. It'll save you time, it'll save you money. When you're checking out online, the app literally searches the internet and applies the best discount code for that retailer. 2 clicks to join. Do you shop on Amazon? Well, Honey has price tracking, and it shows you the trends of that item's pricing so that you can decide the best time to buy. You can add items to your drop list so that when prices drop, Honey will tell you. If the same item is available at another retailer for less, Honey will let you know that as well. It calculates all costs, tax, price, shipping, Amazon Prime discount. So here's what I want you to do. To start saving money, go to joinhoney.com/sworn. In 2 clicks, you'll have access to over 1 million working coupon codes. They do all of the work for you. Again, that's joinhoney.com/sworn, and try it out because it's free and it's easy. And who doesn't like a free and easy way to save money?
When Lisa found out that her daughter was shoplifting from the Walmart at the time she disappeared, her first thought was that Maybe she was laying low, knowing she was in trouble. It didn't seem like such a crazy idea, especially given the crowd Tiffany ran with and her obvious drug usage on that night. Mason, Payne, and I went to visit Lisa and talk with her about her daughter's case. As part of Lisa's effort not to let this case rest, she never turns down any interview or opportunity to speak about Tiffany.
There's no evidence that, initially my thought was, I was suspicious of him initially. However, I did think, well, she did get caught shoplifting. She knows she's going to be in trouble. So my initial thought, like I said to you before, was she's laying low. She's hiding out with one of her friends. She doesn't want to face the music. Then I started thinking, what if something happened? What if she ran behind Sam's and she fell? She got hurt. She, hit her head. Something happened back there. But they've searched all back there and nothing. So I don't think that anything happened in that immediate area. I do believe and have always believed that they somehow met back up that night, whether it was, around that area, maybe at Weinstein's. He lived close by. She knew a lot of people in the area. I told Tom when we first met, I think the first day that we met, I said, you look out that window. I said, look out that window right behind us. What do you see out there? He said, trees, woods. And I said, you know what I see? Somewhere my daughter could be. Everywhere I look, every time I go to the lake, we went to the lake one day. This was the first summer that we had our boat, and we were in a cove close to Bethany Bridge, as a matter of fact, and we were pulling up anchor to go back to the marina, and the anchor was stuck. And so my husband's, pulling and tugging. He said, oh, there's something on the anchor. And then my daughter says, God, I hope it's not a body. And immediately I thought, would that be the craziest thing? Crazy doesn't even begin to describe it, but I cannot even tell you how sick I felt when he was pulling on that rope to see what was at the other end. It was an anchor. It was another anchor that we pulled up with, part of a rope on it. But my gut tells me that she hid out for a little while until the police were gone. Okay. She ran over behind Sam's. They did not give chase. They did not take off after her. They had her purse. They knew who she was. So my gut instinct is that she hid out for a while until, the heat was off, so to speak. And then when Ashley came back to get that truck, she was in it or by it or near it, or she was there. They hooked back up that night. I have no doubt about that. The truth never changes. So if truly she ran out of that Walmart and he never laid eyes on her again, why has he told people, oh, yeah, she got arrested. Oh, yeah, she went to rehab. Oh, yeah, we were arguing and she walked off and I don't know where she went. There's no reason to lie unless something happened that he doesn't want anyone to know about. There's no other reason to lie. If he had stuck with the same story that I swear to you, she ran out the door. I did not see her again, period. So you can ask me, any way you want or try to trip me up, or I never saw her again. But he hasn't done that. He hasn't done that. He's kind of doing that now because he's on the hot seat, but he didn't do that in the beginning. I did not get a lot of cooperation in the beginning on this case. And y'all probably saw that with Chase Masters' case as well. It was yeah. So if you're not a blonde haired, blue eyed co-ed, or a child, obviously, any child they're going to go looking for. But the bottom line, and it was the same thing I had told my mom. I'm like, Mom, I don't know about filing a missing person report. She's gone off the grid like this before for a couple months where when she's using, she didn't want to talk to her family. She didn't want to talk to anybody who was going to try to push her to rehab or, try to do anything to get her off of that path. So, maybe 2 months. So, that part of it was not out of the ordinary. And it wasn't really until we got those letters and we found out that, the Walmart incident had happened that we really began to think, okay, there's something more to this. But even still, I'm thinking, okay, she's on parole. She just got caught shoplifting. put two and two together. And I said, if I go down to the police department and file a missing person report, they are going to laugh me out the door. And you know, of course, I did feel that way. And of course, I look back on it now and think, God, you dumbass. You know, maybe if you had gone sooner, they would have video from the parking lot. That, I mean, I beat myself up every day for that. I can't change that. So I have to move on from that. But when I did go, and then when I did press the detective, and the detective called me and said, yeah, we're not even going to open an investigation on this. She's just hiding out. She'll turn up.
On your daughter's case? Correct. And how long was this after she was missing?
That was it was in January of 14.
And how long had that been at that point?
Well, September, October, November, December, January, 4 months.
She's been missing for 4 months.
Mm-hmm.
And they said what?
You know, she's on parole. She was shoplifting. She's in trouble. She's just hiding out. She'll turn up.
Is this Marietta PD?
Yeah. I started calling people. I just started calling. I went up the chain at Marietta PD and I actually called the chief's office, and his assistant was amazing and gave me every name and number of people I needed to call. And she said, if you don't get any satisfaction there, then you call me back and I'll make sure that you get to talk with Chief Flynn. And so I went up the chain, and then I got a call from a major who basically was not very nice. He basically told me, we don't even know that who has jurisdiction on this. And I said, I know who has jurisdiction because it's the last place that she was seen, and it was in your city. Well, she was in our city committing a crime. I really don't care what she was doing. She was in your city and she's missing. It does not matter what she was doing when she went missing. The fact is she's missing, and it is your jurisdiction. And during the course of the conversation, I realized he had mentioned that he had a daughter. And I think he has two, actually, but he had mentioned something about having a daughter. And I said, so I'm just going to ask you this. You mentioned you have a daughter. I said, if she went missing, regardless of the circumstances, would you not move heaven and earth to find her? And it was just complete silence. And he said, I'll be back in touch with you. And he hung up the phone. And then later that evening, I got the first call from Detective Moeller. I don't like to knock any municipality or anything like that, but he's been arrested multiple times in Cobb County. It's always a slap on the wrist. He's always out in record time. I don't understand how somebody can be, I mean, my brother works at that jail. He said it's a revolving door. He sees the same people in and out of there all the time. Ashley's one of them. He's done time there. He's done time in prison. He's been in, he's been out. But every time he gets in trouble in Cobb County, it's the same thing. They plead it, He's a little bitty squirt, and I think that he, tries to talk big and bad, and he tries to intimidate people, and he's supposedly a part of this ghost face gang, whatever the heck that is, bunch of losers. But I have to say, look, I knew he had already set the expectation for me that they were not going to be able to get him on trafficking and a lot of the other things that they wanted to charge him with, and that, he said, as much as I hate to say it, we're not going to be able to give him as much time as what we're hoping. So my expectations were very low. When I heard that he got sentenced to 20 years and had to serve 10, I was happy. I was really happy because he's not going to be on the street. He can't intimidate witnesses. He can't, hide evidence if there is any out there. I mean, I know that he saw me after the March drug bust. I did go to court. I went to, he saw me. He definitely saw me.
Did he look you in the eyes?
No.
What did he do?
Well, when he saw me and we did make eye contact, he immediately turned. And I had on a shirt with her picture on it, so there was no doubt who I was. He doesn't want to look at me. I don't think the guy can look at me.
Hopefully, all of you are familiar with our sister podcast, Up and Vanished. This year, the Up and Vanished team will be hitting the road on the Up and Vanished Live Tour. UAV Live is an exclusive Season 1 audio and video experience, plus a live audience question and answer that you're not going to want to miss. Host Payne Lindsay will share all of the untold stories from his investigation with never-before-seen documentary footage and unreleased audio. I'm happy to announce that I will be participating in the tour and look forward to meeting the Up and Vanished and the sworn listeners face-to-face to discuss these cases and to answer your questions. We will be headed to over 15 cities, including New York, Austin, Chicago, our hometown of Atlanta, and many more. Tickets are on sale now, so don't miss out. For a full list of dates and ticket information, visit upandvanished.com/live. That's upandvanished.com/live.
It's just like a never-ending nightmare that you can't wake up from. You know, I go through my day, I take care of my family, I do my job, I do what I have to do to get through a day, and you know, I've had people say, God, you know, how can you even get out of bed in the morning? If my child was missing, I'm like, I have 2 other kids to take care of and a husband. I can't not get out of bed. Yeah, I have no choice but to get out of bed. And thank God. Thank God for that. Because otherwise, I mean, if I didn't get out of bed in the morning, I would just die. I would just die. I have to keep going. I have to keep searching, and I have to keep doing what I can to try to convince people to do the right thing. If you know something, you need to say something. It's as simple as that, and it's frustrating.
What do you tell Tiffany's daughter?
You know, we don't talk a lot about it. I've kind of let her be the lead on that. And we do talk about her mommy, but I try to talk about her in positive ways. You know, when she'll do something funny that reminds me of her mommy, I'll say, oh my gosh, you know, you look just like your mommy when you did that. Or I'll be brushing her hair and say, gosh, you know, your hair is exactly like hers. I mean, they look exactly alike. You look at a picture of Tiffany and you honestly accept the fact that the picture's older and the styles have changed. There's no difference. You know, she's very much like her mommy in a lot of ways, which can be worrisome. She's like her in good ways and bad ways. She finally got to a point where she was upset one day, and she just told me that she was starting to forget what she looked like. And that just broke my heart. And then she wanted to know, you know, she said, is my mommy dead? No grandmother should ever have to answer that question, or never even be asked that question. But I was honest with her and told her that as much as I prayed that she's not, that, you know, in my heart I believe that she is. And I explained to her what happened, and not only what happened, but how she got to that point. You know, what happened in her life that led her down that path. And I told her, you know, Tiffany didn't tell the truth a lot, and she stole things. I mean, obviously, she was shoplifting in Walmart. She had an issue with taking things that didn't belong to her. She had an issue with the truth. I have felt for a very long time that this particular person was the key to blowing this case open. And I've been saying that to law enforcement now for 3 years, I guess. This guy right here, I'm telling you right now, this guy right here is the key. And here's why, A, B, C, D, here's why he's the key. And I'm not going to say that other people necessarily discounted what I was saying, but I don't think they really felt as strongly about it as I did. John Dawes listened, and John Dawes believes the same thing that I believe. I've thought about it so many times. I've thought, what if, you know, I'm sitting at home one night and there's a knock at the door and it's John Dawes, or, you know, somebody is knocking at my door to say, hey, you know, we found her. Even though I know in my heart, I feel in my heart that she's gone, to get that, to find that out would be so final. It's just final at that point. But the one person who I said has the key, yeah. That's what I believe.
If you could tell him something right now, what would you say?
I would say what I've said directly to him, and that is, you know, if the shoe were on the other foot and you were missing and Tiffany knew what happened, she would tell. She wouldn't have any problem telling. And, you know, one day this could be your child. This could be your daughter. God forbid. Don't you want somebody to do that for you? Wouldn't you want somebody to step forward and do the right thing and say what happened? I mean, I don't know how else to put it except, dude, come on. You know, the time has come. What is there to be afraid of? What is there to be afraid of? If you did nothing wrong, then why are you so afraid to come forward?
Maybe that's what he's afraid of.
Maybe. But, yeah, that could be. I've thought about that, too. That maybe he did do something wrong, and that's why he's so afraid. I mean, I think he did something wrong, but I don't think he actually harmed Tiffany. But I do think he helped cover it up.
That's a crime.
Yes, it is. It definitely is. But I think that in the interest of information, law enforcement would probably be willing to overlook that to get the information that they need. So that's what I would say to him. Quit being a pansy. You know, you act all tough with your gang signs and your tats and all this kind of stuff. You ain't tough. You're not tough at all.
Tiffany Whitton disappeared within about a mile or so of my office, where I work every day. I drive past the location where she was last seen alive almost every single day. I shop right near there. I eat near there. I can barely imagine how someone could literally disappear without a trace from that place. Unlike other cold cases that we've seen, there's one factor present here that was not present in anything else that really hampered law enforcement when this case started as well as today. That factor is the delay in reporting. It was 4 months before Tiffany's mother went to the Marietta Police Department to report her daughter missing. In that 4-month period of time, just imagine what all could have been going on with Tiffany Whitton, considering her lifestyle. What type of hazards was she facing every day? Was she exposing herself to bad people? Was she exposing herself to bad habits? Was she perhaps getting herself in a situation where maybe she would overdose or something else tragic could happen? The possibilities are seemingly endless. And just how regrettable is it that all of those security cameras and surveillance videos that I saw just in the parking lot of the Walmart alone, not to mention all of the nearby stores, they all probably saw where she went. There was probably security video showing exactly what happened to her. But in that period of time, those recordings went away. The way that the systems work, they usually record over themselves after a number of days or perhaps a couple of weeks. And so during that 4 months, think about all of the evidence that was simply lost. It's nobody's fault necessarily. It's just the way that it is. That's what happens in 4 months' time. Tiffany Whitton was a human being. She deserves to be found. It doesn't matter what her lifestyle choices may have been. It doesn't matter what her past history might have been. She was a human being, and she does not deserve to be missing. Her family doesn't deserve to go through life. Her daughter doesn't deserve to go through life wondering what the hell happened to her mother. As much as Tiffany deserves to be found, her friends, her family, and her loved ones deserve answers. We hear from the Assistant District Attorney in Cobb County and discuss the case at length with the current lead investigator, John Dawes, next time on Sworn. Sworn is produced by Tenderfoot TV in Atlanta. Story and production by Payne Lindsay, Mason Lindsay, and Meredith Stedman, and myself, Philip Holloway. Executive producers Donald Albright and Payne Lindsay. And if you haven't yet, please check out our sister podcast, Up and Vanished, that follows the investigation into the disappearance of Georgia high school teacher and beauty queen Tara Grinstead. Up and Vanished is available now on Apple Podcasts. Sworn is mixed and mastered by Resonate Recordings. If you're in the market for podcast production, go to resonaterecordings.com to get your first episode produced for free. If you haven't already, please head over to iTunes now to subscribe, rate, and review Sworn. And make sure you check us out online at swornpodcast.com and follow us on social media at Sworn Podcast on Twitter and Instagram. And you can follow me, your host, Philip Holloway, at Phil Holloway ESQ on Twitter. Thanks for listening. This is Philip Holloway, and I'll see you next time on Sworn.
I see blood in the water, running deep, it runs deep, blood in the water. I see blood in the water. Try me, you see blood in the water.
New episodes of Sworn will be available 7 days early on TuneIn. Download the TuneIn app and listen for free. Hear new shows from other great podcasts on TuneIn before anywhere else. You can find our new episodes at tunein.com/sworn. That's tunein.com/sworn.